Hello everyone and welcome once again to the platform of Dreamacademia where dreams turn into reality. So as you might be knowing that last week I brought about the video of the important concepts and chapters of mathematics for West Bengal Joint Entrance Examination, and today continuing on that I'll be discussing about the important concepts and chapters of chemistry that are very crucial from the point of view of WBJEE. Now, the paper of chemistry in WBJEE is of 50 marks. Of that, approximately 15 to 17 marks are of inorganic chemistry. So, roughly 1/3 of the paper is inorganic. Actually, this division is quite uniform among physical, organic, and inorganic. So, inorganic chemistry can often be a boon for you because first of all, it is a time saver because in many of the questions you can just tick the answers if you know them. Often you don't have to think much, so it will be very wise and not to ignore it in the exam. So let's start. Okay, so here I have written NCERT is the Bible, and it is absolutely true because for any exam, if you see be it JEE or BITSAT or even WBJEE, inorganic chemistry especially, also most of chemistry, but especially inorganic chemistry is 90% to 95% based on in your NCERT, and often the questions are quoted, the lines are quoted from chemistry in from your chemistry NCERT book. So NCERT is your Bible. You can refer other books, but first you must finish NCERT, and it is very important to go through each and every line from NCERT because they give certain examples or even some lines, some properties may be written below the diagrams. So all these, the tables of NCERT, all these are very important. Okay. So first, to begin with, here I have given the number of questions that have come from inorganic chemistry, the various chapters over the past 5 years. So in this video, I have specifically focused on the last 5 years where most of the questions have been asked. So if you see hydrogen S block and P block, this is a huge one, consists of nearly 3 chapters. P block has group 13 to group 18. So this has 3 to 4 questions coming. Chemical bonding is a very important chapter. The concepts are applied in various other chapters of chemistry. So this is also an important question. 2 to 3 questions are coming from here. And more importantly, the 2-mark questions of category 2 of WBJEE, those questions are often from chemical bonding. Then you have coordination compound, which is also an important chapter. However, the weightage is a bit less in WBJEE. 1 to 2 questions are coming from here. Similarly, you can see for others, metallurgy has 1 question. Sometimes, like in 2018, no question was asked from metallurgy. So 1 question you can expect from metallurgy here, the names of ores, the various processes of separation, all these are important. I will be going into the details of the important concepts also. A DNA block has 1 to 2 questions on an average, and periodic properties has 1 question. So overall, if you see, inorganic chemistry is not that difficult, and if you study on a consistent basis, if you make short notes, and if you are revising, like the chapters that you have studied in class 11, if you are consistently revising them on a daily basis, then inorganic chemistry will never be a problem before the exams. Make sure that you are making short notes where you are yourself writing down the important points from NCERT or from other textbooks also if necessary, but mainly focus on NCERT. So that short notes are very useful, and if you revise from there, it will be very helpful before the exams. Okay. So now let us look at the important concepts for each chapter. First, we begin with periodic properties. Here, Mendeleev's periodic law is very important, as you know. Then, electronic configuration of D and F block elements. Now, here questions have been asked from this portion in previous years. They will give the questions like they can ask you for the number of electrons, or they will mention a d block or f block element and will ask for the number of electrons in its d orbital of that particular element. Also they can ask for the quantum numbers of the last electron of a certain f block element. So you must have an idea of the pattern of electronic configuration of these d and f block elements. So this is an important one. And then you obviously must know all the trends across both rows and columns of the various elements. They are often, in the MCQ questions, they are asking you to arrange the elements. They will give you certain elements and ask you to arrange them in ascending or descending order of the various properties. Now, all the properties you must have an idea of, starting from your ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, up to your melting point, boiling point, and many others. So all you must have an idea of. They can ask you. And one more important thing here is that while you are solving these questions, be very careful whether they are asking you in descending order or ascending order. So often there are silly mistakes made here. So mainly from here, electronic configuration is important one, and the trends are important from this chapter. Next is chemical bonding. This is a very important chapter on its own. The concepts of this chapter are widely used all over chemistry. Here pi and sigma bonding is important, the concept especially. Next is VSEPR theory and your valence bond theory, or the VBT theory. That is important. The concept of resonance, hybridization, and dipole moment. All these are very important questions have been asked from dipole moment. Even you should know how to calculate dipole moment if the data is given. The question of resonance have been asked in previous years. Okay, so bond order calculation is obviously important. This is even crucial for your JEE also. Then you must have idea of back bonding, p-pi, d-pi, multiple bonding. These are some concepts which may not be given in that detail in NCERT. So for chemical bonding, you may refer to other books also. Okay, next is, now this is in NCERT, the types of intermolecular forces, and their dependence also, like dipole-dipole, dipole-induced dipole, all these intermolecular forces, often the questions are asked from here also. So this is also important. Next is the MOT, or molecular orbital theory. From here, you can be sometimes asked to write the configuration, or the homo-lumo concept from here is where questions are asked from. So from chemical bonding, mainly your VBT theory, VSEPR theory, resonance, hybridization, dipole moment, your intermolecular forces, and this homo-lumo concept of molecular orbital theory is important from our WBJEE point of view. Now, in chemical bonding, there are various other concepts and many other laws or theories. You are obviously welcome to know about them, but in general, questions are not asked from them, but for your JEE or other exams, you can obviously go through them. Okay. Now next, let's look at hydrogen. Here, what is important is the spin of the nuclear spin of hydrogen. As you might be knowing, now this is, I guess, not in NCERT. So for this, you can refer to some other book. Now, hydrogen peroxide, this is in NCERT, the preparation of hydrogen peroxide, the reactions, and the calculation. Now, this the strength calculation here, this is given in NCERT example only, this numerical. So this is important, obviously. Next is hydrides. Now the types of hydrides along with their examples. So which they will give you the name of a hydride and may ask you that its type. So for that you must, this is given clearly in NCERT. So you must go through the types and the examples of the hydrides. And finally, hard water. This is also very important. Questions have been asked from here. Two types of hardness, temporary hardness and permanent hardness. How to remove them and what causes these hardnesses. Okay, so this is important. So from hydrogen, H2O2, hydrides and hard water important. Also, you might just have a look at the structure of ice because it's given in NCERT. So sometimes questions can be asked from there, or it can be framed. Now moving on to S block. A diagonal relationship is important. Which elements display them? Questions can be asked. Now here the trends and properties of oxides and hydroxides of the S block elements. Now properties can mean various types of properties from melting point, boiling point to several others. So you must, again, they can here ask you to arrange them in the ascending or descending order, right, based on the properties. Now the flame coloration here is very important. All the S block elements, most of them are displaying colors when they give flame test. So this is also important, which element give which color. So you must know them, you have to remember them. There is no other way, because you cannot obviously perform an experiment in the examination hall, so you must remember the colors. Now there is a reaction with liquid ammonia which is given in NCERT. Often questions are asked from there. This is also important for your school exams or board exams for that matter. Now these are some compounds which I've mentioned over here: sodium hydroxide, alum, sodium bicarbonate, sodium carbonate, and calcium carbonate. Now you must know the reactions and properties of each of these compounds. These are some of the important ones. There are others also, but these 5 are very important. You must know the preparation, reactions, and properties of each of these. Okay. And finally we come to cement, which is very important. You must know this. Questions are repeatedly coming from here. This is a very important one. So from S block, you must be aware of diagonal relationship, the trends and properties of oxides, hydroxides, maybe even chlorides. Okay, the flame coloration, as I've said, liquid ammonia reaction, and some of these compounds, and cement is the most important among them. But you must also know about these sodium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, bicarbonate, alum. Okay, so these reactions and properties are very important. The questions have been asked in previous years from the reactions of these compounds. Okay, so next let's move to P block element. Now this is a huge one. 3 of these I guess are in 11 and the rest 3 are in 12. So the important concept before you study P block element is that you must know 2 types of reactions. One is hydrolysis and heating. Like they can ask you, give you a compound and ask you like the hydrolysis of this will yield, or when this compound is heated it will evolve, and then they will give options of 4 gases. So how the mechanism behind hydrolysis and heating you must know. Okay, so now if we start with group 13, first is again trends and properties. Now these trends and properties will continue for each group, because you must they are asking questions like arranging in ascending and descending order repeatedly. Now one important concept here is the complex formation in group 13. Okay, next is the Lewis acid character of the group 13 elements, like AlCl3 you may be knowing. Okay, and again here some important compounds have been mentioned. You must know the preparation and reactions along with the structure of these compounds. Like borazine is very important. Okay, so borax, borazine, orthoboric acid, how it is formed, how it is prepared, what are the reactions of these compounds, boron nitride and AlCl3. These are some of the very important compounds from which questions are asked repeatedly. Now if we move to group 14, or the carbon family, here mainly carbon and silicon are important. Okay, one more thing, in P block elements, the first 2 elements, like for group 13 boron and aluminium, for group 14 carbon and silicon, mostly questions are focused on these. However, sometimes general questions are asked, but most of the questions are focused on the first 2 elements of the period. So here comparison and contrast between carbon and silicon, the structure of graphite, diamond, and Buckminster fluorine. So often you are asked to contrast between the contrasting properties of graphite and diamond. Silicones is very important even for your JEE also. Silicates and silicones. This is clearly given in NCERT and you must study it properly from NCERT. Questions have been asked repeatedly in previous years from silicones. Next is group 15, the nitrogen family. Here again chemical properties, as I said, trends and properties will continue for each group and repeatedly questions are asked. Now the reactivity of the various hydrides, oxides and halides of the group 15 elements, we're asked to arrange them based on their reactivity. Nitrogen, nitric acid and phosphine, these 3 compounds you must know about the properties, right, and their reactions. TCl3, PCl5 given in NCERT, the reactions must be known. The reaction of PCl5 has been asked in the previous year. Even PCl3 is important. So for group 15, the trends and properties, these three compounds, N2HNO3 and phosphine, and the reaction of PCl3 and PCl5 are important. You must also know about the oxidation state of phosphorus in each of these. Right, next if we move to group 16, here the physical properties and oxidation state is important. This SF4 and SeF4, how they act as fluorinating agent, their structure, this is important. Ozone is very important, given in NCERT, the reaction of ozone, and even some of the properties are important. Next is sulfuric acid. Now for sulfuric acid, preparation is very important, and the reaction of sulfuric acid. Now if you go through NCERT, you will find the reaction of sulfuric acid with various compounds and elements. All of them are important from the point of view of WBJEE. Okay, next if we move to group 17, again physical and chemical properties and trends. Here reaction of the group 17 elements, that is your halogens, towards hydrogen, oxygen and water is very important. Here why have I mentioned halogens? This is because the halogens have do form interhalogen compounds also, so that is also important. The structure of the interhalogen compounds, how they are formed. If you go through NCERT, specific temperature is given, so that is also important. Oxides of iodine is very important. You must know the oxidation number here for iodine, and this from here questions have been asked. Pseudohalides and pseudohalogens are important. And bleaching powder, yes, the reaction of bleaching powder has been asked repeatedly. Okay, next is group 18. From here, mainly the fluorides and oxides of xenon are asked. How are they prepared? The structure of these compounds of xenon oxide and xenon fluoride. And finally, the hydrolysis reaction. There are 4 or 5 reactions given in NCERT. You must be aware of them. Okay, in fact, I've told you at the beginning that hydrolysis and heating reactions for the P block elements are often asked. Right? They will, like for heating reactions, they give you options of 4 gases, and you have to identify which gases evolve when this particular compound is heated. Next, if we move to metallurgy, now in metallurgy you have to remember a lot of things. Firstly, the name of the ores. So here if you see, the important part is the extraction of elements, how they are extracted, the various processes. However, the most important part of this chapter will be the thermodynamics of metallurgy and Ellingham diagram. And this is also important for your JEE. This is given in NCERT clearly. You must know the Ellingham diagram and how to interpret this diagram, and from here questions are asked. Next is your electrochemical principles of metallurgy. This is important. There are many other concepts, as I said earlier also, but I'm just focusing on the important ones, especially important to WBJEE. Applications of electrolysis to metallurgy, the various processes of purification, distillation. Now here, as you can see, distillation, liquefaction, zone refining. Here you must know the examples. Okay, so often they will give you, which of the following can be refined using zone refining. So for that you must know the examples given in NCERT. All the processes from distillation, liquefaction, zone refining to vapor phase, electrolysis, okay, vacuum arc furnace, refining, all these are important. Chromatography is also important. Okay, in NCERT there is a paragraph on it, so you must go through it as well. Now extraction of various elements. For gold there is a reaction you will find in NCERT which is important, even for aluminium also. So the processes as well as the reactions and the names of the ores are mainly important for metallurgy. Okay. Next is coordination compounds, and this is also an important chapter, although not much weightage is given here in WBJEE. But bonding and coordination compounds, these are the two most crucial chapters of inorganic chemistry, where you have a lot of important concepts, and especially concepts which can be applied in other chapters as well. Okay, now here the configuration part is very important, and the Warner's coordination theory. Next is coordination number. What is it? How to find it? The nomenclature, very important. It's given in NCERT also. You will find in any other standard textbook. So nomenclature of various complex compounds can be asked. Warner's theory, as I've said earlier, only this is important. Okay. Next is isomerism in coordination compounds. This is the one important thing. Which type of isomerism will that particular complex show, that you must know. Structural and geometrical isomerism, these are the two kinds. but these also have further classifications, as you must be knowing. Okay, next is valence bond theory, or bonding in coordination compounds, and the crystal field stabilization theory, CFT as you say. So you must also be aware of the d orbital splitting here, the significance of delta naught, the effect of crystal field splitting. Now this whole thing here is very important, and different kinds of questions can be framed from here. You must be knowing how to calculate the CFSE energy of the values of the different orbitals as they may be asked. Next, this Jahn-Taylor effect is not important for WebG. Questions are generally not asked from here. The next important thing is color in coordination compounds. This is very important, and organometallic compounds generally not asked in WebG. So for coordination compounds, first important thing is coordination number, obviously, nomenclature, isomerism, valence bond theory, crystal field theory, and the color in coordination compounds. These are the important concepts. However, in WebG, generally one question is asked, or at max 2 questions you will find. They are generally on the easier side. Okay, next is finally the final one is D and F block elements. Now from here questions are either not asked or either one question is asked, so this is not that important. However, you cannot afford to miss it, because if questions are asked, they're generally on the easier side and you must be able to do them correctly. For here, you must know the variable oxidation state of the transition elements. Colored ion, this is very important, colored ion formation by the transition metal ions, the lanthanoid contraction and actinoid contraction, and the oxidation state of actinoids. So these are the main 4 important concepts that I have listed from where questions can be asked, though they are generally not, this chapter is generally have been found to be ignored by WebG. But anyway, we cannot afford to miss them, and all chapters must be given equal focus. So as I've repeatedly said, that NCERT is the Bible for inorganic chemistry, and even for chemistry for that matter. So that's it for this video, guys. But before signing off, I would just like to take you to the channel once our now here, if you find Dreamacademia YouTube channel, the videos are being uploaded regularly on all the important topics and chapters of class 11 and 12. You will find physical, organic, inorganic, all sorts of videos. Also here videos on WebG, the important topics, like I've covered mathematics last week. Today I've told about inorganic chemistry. All these have been covered. Then if you go to the playlist section, you will find that the playlists have been created for the different parts, like for physical, organic, inorganic, separate playlists have been created. For physics, optics, mechanics, separate playlists have been created. Now here, if you find in YouTube, our Telegram group link has been given. You can join it and ask your doubts over there. Our team is always there to help you. You can also get any other doubts solved regarding the exams, how you should prepare for them, or if you are having doubt in any specific questions, all of them you can ask by just clicking on this button here and joining the Telegram. So that's it, guys, for today, and thank you. Keep studying.